Hello. Welcome. Welcome to my live stream. Today we'll be exploring the dark theories of A Song of Ice and Fire. Well, specifically, the dark theories of The Winds of Winter. Here we go. I'm not late at all. I'm not late at all. Nope, I'm early, if anything. Completely early. So, we're celebrating 10k subs with an awesome live stream. And because it's 10k subs, I thought I'd go extra professional. And you know what that means? That means Microsoft Paint. Yeah, I don't have Photoshop. I do have Photopea, but Photopea has ads on the side, and I don't want you to stare at a bunch of ads. So, I went with Microsoft Paint, inspired by the one and only Glidus. Because I was watching some of his earlier live streams over the weekend. And in one of his videos, one of his live streams, his Photoshop isn't working. So he does Microsoft Paint instead. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do that. So here we go. Terrible Microsoft Paint. So we have at the top, dark. And at the bottom, meh. So the theories that are really, genuinely dark. Like, A Song of Ice and Fire is a dark series. It has to be dark by Westerosi standards. And then we have It's Over, which is it's not going to happen, versus We're So Back, which means it is going to happen in The Winds of Winter. So I want to start off with very boring thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you for coming. Thank you for subscribing, because 10k subs is crazy. Back in January, I only had 19, and then I released my best episode of Hot D, and boom, it blew up. Since then, I've been like, this has become my job, basically. So I'm super grateful for all of you. Okay. See, I'm used to, my last couple of live streams have been with Quinn, so I'm used to chatting back and forth. It's always more awkward when you're doing it by yourself, because no dead air, you got to keep going. Thank you for coming, Okay, so let me clarify what I mean by dark theories. So there is an old post, it's 8 years old, I think. 8 years old, on the A Song of Ice and Fire subreddit. And it's one of the first things I saw after I'd read the books and I started exploring online, and I found the subreddit. And I found a post called Dark Theories for Winds of Winter, and they blew my mind because I hadn't seen these. I hadn't seen these back then. Came out in 2015. After the live stream, I'm going to put the post in the description. It's by a user called Crayon in My Brain. And I looked it up, and that post was released post Season 5. So between Season 5 and Season 6, which will be quite interesting. But they are all the dark theories for the Winds of Winter. And I did a poll this week, and lo and behold, people voted for the Wall and the North to be the main two that we focus on. I think the Wall got the most, right? I think actually the votes were in order of how they were posted. Let's have a look. Yes, let me clarify that. Sorry. Quinn the GM. That's who I did a live stream with. Quinn the GM. We collabed on a couple of Frey videos. We have done live streams together. Not Quinn's Ideas. I think Quinn's Ideas is a bit too big for me to collab with right now. I think he's slightly larger in this A Song of Ice and Fire pond. He's a shark to my goldfish. I think I will double check that poll. But from what I remember, people voted for the Wall as the number one thing, and then the North as the second thing. Let's see. Community. Yeah, there we go. The Wall, as of now, 37% voted for the Wall and Beyond, 30% voted for the North, 17% for the South, 16% for Essos. So I'll be looking at the Wall and Beyond and the North. And I may go beyond into some other ones as well if there's time. So, without further ado, let's begin, because we've got some people in. We've got... Awesome, let's go. So, the very first theory. Oh, and by the way, the theories from this post, I've sort of rearranged them in a different order, and I've reworded some of them and so on. So the first one is... Let's have a look. Put it up here. Jeyne Poole will be sacrificed. So this is an especially dark one, because Jeyne Poole is truly a victim of everything that surrounds her. She's a character with zero agency. She travels to King's Landing as Sansa's friend and companion, but after the failed, I suppose, Stark coup, as the Lannisters would call it, Jeyne Poole was taken into custody. Her father, Theon Poole, was killed, and Littlefinger offers to deal with her by training her in his brothels, which is pretty horrendous. And she's later disguised as Arya Stark and sent up north to the Boltons, because of course Arya is missing at this point, presumed dead, and the Lannisters say, okay, give Jeyne Poole, she's a northern girl, she knows Winterfell, she has the accent, she sort of probably has a northern look, if there is such a thing. And then Ramsay marries her, and of course her being married to Ramsay opens up all kinds of horrific ordeals for her. In the show, Sansa marries Ramsay, which is very strange, and it's pretty brutal what she has to go through, but it's nothing compared to what Jeyne goes through in the book. It really is horrible. It would get this demonetized, so I'm not going to go into it. And then after that, Theon saves her. You know, Reek truly becomes Theon once again, and escapes from Winterfell, but in the Winds of Winter sample chapter for Theon. And bear in mind, because it's a sample chapter, not necessarily canon, but it said that she broke 2 ribs while jumping into the snow. And she's also, on the journey there, she lost to the Crofters village where Stannis is, she lost part of her nose to frostbite. So she's just constantly suffering, and it's very horrible. And so the idea behind this theory is that she does not get a happy ending. You know, she doesn't get any mercy. It's brutality after brutality, and then finally she ends up at the wall where she thinks she's safe, and Melisandre burns her and kills her, gives her one of the most painful ways you can die. Which would, yeah. So the reason behind this, of course, is that everyone at the wall, if Jeyne Poole is sent to the wall, everyone is going to assume it's Arya, right? Because Jon's dead. As far as we know, he can't say, that's not Arya. No one necessarily knows exactly what she looks like. And so, well, Arya Stark, she's the sister of King Robb. That's King's blood. So maybe Melisandre will burn Shireen. For all kind of reasons. Maybe to help Stannis win the battle, or maybe to resurrect Jon Snow. Yes. So, wait, these are like 2 separate points, but I'm going to merge them into one, actually. Which is that there's lots of... No, actually, no. Let's keep it at that. So, this one, is it dark? Yes, this is very dark. This is one of the darkest ones. I won't put it all the way at the top, because it's not sort of weird and twisted or particularly, like, occult, but it is really, really horrible. Because she's been through so much, and the idea of giving her this sort of unceremonious, painful, horrible death, it's too much. And for that reason, I don't think it's going to happen, because it would sort of, I mean, you could argue her story already ventures into sort of being a bit gratuitous, right? And if Melisandre gets her, then it would feel a bit over the top. It'd be like, okay, we get it, right? It feels almost like the narrative is indulging in it to provoke the audience and to deliberately say, see, look how horrible this is. So I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know what her end will be, but I'd be very surprised if it's something that horrible. So it's dark, but I could see it happening. I could see like a really horrible, cruel twist of irony where she goes back to safety, and then Mel gets her in order to try and resurrect Jon. And then, of course, because Jeyne Poole doesn't have King's blood, because it's not really Arya Stark, she fails and nothing happens. So it's not just a sacrifice, it's a pointless sacrifice. So probably not going to happen, but I wouldn't put it past Gurm to be a complete nutcase. So I will put it there. What do you guys think? Let's check the chat. Death might almost be a relief to Jeyne. That's what John said. John Potts. Almost. In fact, there's another theory we'll be diving into later, which is about Jeyne Poole being mercy killed as a potential ender. Yeah, it would feel cheap to kill her off. I agree with that. I agree. Paul says, I don't think that gives Arya royal blood. She'll need to be the daughter of a king. That's a good point. But you could argue Melisandre might be desperate. And you know, in the same way she misreads the flames and gets some things wrong, maybe she sort of stretches the definition of king's blood. Oh, she's the sister of a king, so technically her blood has magical properties. But then again, why I don't think it's going to happen is it would just be too pointless. It would be, oh, horrible thing happened, nothing occurred, okay, fine. So, oh, and also, yeah, okay. So, on the subject of sacrifices, this is a more popular one. The sacrifice of Shireen. Just to clarify, more popular as in lots of people believe it, not they want it to happen. So let's start with... Actually, no. Shireen's sacrifice. Which can take numerous forms. Oh, damn it. No, should we do it as one? Yeah, no, let's have it as separate ones. Let's have Mel and Stannis as separate ones. So Melisandre sacrifices Shireen. So the idea behind this is that people believe Melisandre will burn her at the stake, similar to how she's burned in the show, and will do so to resurrect Jon Snow. So at the end of season 5, what happens is there's a blizzard. Stannis' army can't move on towards Winterfell. People are starving. People are fleeing, and they need to melt the snow. So Stannis and Melisandre and Selyse all agree to sacrifice her to the Lord of Light, and then the snow melts slightly, and Stannis can progress and then get defeated immediately, rendering the whole thing very unnecessary and disappointing. Yeah. So, in the books, obviously it's going to go down a different way. Melisandre is at the wall. She's not with Stannis. Shireen is at the wall. Selyse is at the wall. And the idea behind this theory is that Melisandre will lose faith in Stannis and believe that actually Jon Snow is Azor Ahai. And that the only way to save him, to resurrect him from death, is to kill Shireen. Now, for Melisandre, it's along the lines of Shireen has king's blood. As we talked about earlier, she's actually Stannis' daughter, so there's a stronger link there. It's not as tenuous. Stannis is the king, Shireen has his blood, sacrificing him to resurrect Jon in the same way Thoros of Myr resurrected Beric. Of course, he didn't do it the same way, he didn't sacrifice anyone. But if we delve deeper into prophecy, then we know that there are many prophecies surrounding Azor Ahai, lots of confusing, complicated phrases and so on. And one of them is about only a king... is about waking dragons from stone. See, I've only got one monitor, so I have I'm having to use 2 other screens to see the chat and to see notes and so on. So I want to work towards getting a new monitor to make these live streams flow a bit better. So yeah, waking dragons from stone is part of the Azor Ahai prophecy. And this could mean various different things, but the idea here is that Shireen has grayscale, it's like stone on her face, and that if she is killed, Jon Snow will be awoken. He is a dragon, because he's a Targaryen, he will be woken from... A dragon waking from stone. That could be it. There's a plane going overhead. I live near an airport. But we can go deeper, because Melisandre has some interesting quotes. So she says, only a king's blood can wake the stone dragon, presumably in reference to the prophecy. She has king's blood. Melisandre also says, from his king's blood, this is Stannis, from his king's blood and unattainted fire, a dragon shall be born. So, once again, waking a dragon being born, Jon Snow coming back from the dead, who is, a Targaryen, probably. And Shireen herself has bad dreams. There's one part where she says that she has dreams about dragons eating her. Specifically, I believe, the stone dragons of Dragonstone. The sort of dragon gargoyles coming to life and eating her. And, Shireen is of Targaryen descendants. Is it her great-grandmother? Is it Targaryen? One of Aegon V's children? Her great-grandmother or her great-grandmother? I can't remember, it doesn't matter. So, maybe it's a dragon dream, or could just be a kind of creepy prophetic dream that George likes to throw in. But she dreams about a dragon eating her, the sort of stone dragon. Could that represent, the dragon waking up? She's seeing her death in the future. She is seeing, Jon Snow waking up. Jon Snow's birth, resurrection will come from her death, so he's kind of eating her. That doesn't really work, but you could say dragon's eating her. You think of flame, you think of fire, and there's a kind of connection there to potentially her being sacrificed. I'm not sure. There's a lot going on with Shireen. A lot of it isn't actually in that post, so I might make some more, actually. I might improvise a bit. Because there's a lot of theories that spark off of Melisandre potentially sacrificing Shireen. I'll be specific. To resurrect, that's not how you spell it, to resurrect Jon Snow. So, this one. Is it dark? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this one's dark. I'm going to have it on the same level with Jeyne Poole, because it is 2 young girls being burned at the stake. Yeah. Pretty horrific. And I think it is likely. Of course, we do have... we can't just look at the books. We do have the show Shireen being sacrificed. Benioff and Weiss said that was something they were told. Obviously, it's not going to be the same, but it's going to happen. We don't know who's going to be responsible. But of all the potential Shireen being sacrificed theories, this one, to me, is the most likely. So I'm going to place this one here. The same level. Yeah. That's for me. But let me know what you guys think. Let me check the chat now. Someone sent a super chat. Oh my god. Thank you so much. That's from Tater Nuts, who says, I'm jumping ahead here, but any thoughts about what the others want and how the long night might be resolved? Let me just take a drink. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's so generous of you. Thank you. So, White Walker theories are certainly coming. Any thoughts of what they want and how the long night might be resolved? There are so many ideas here. So many ideas. Because in the show, the others are sort of a force of nature. They're sort of apocalyptic. They could represent, I don't know, nuclear war, climate change, a sort of an impersonal, catastrophic event that humans are unable to come together to defeat because they're busy squabbling over petty politics and intrafamilial violence and all that stuff. And as a result, the others, the White Walkers, were kind of boring in the show, especially the Night King. There was no personality there. And it would be very strange for George to have the others be the sort of empty, blank-faced, personality-less beings of pure death, especially considering what he said about Lord of the Rings, talking about the orcs. Sort of, what happened after Aragorn became king, when all the orcs just died out? How did that happen? Were they hunted down? Were all the orc babies killed and the orc mothers? And what happened? There's an entire race of inherently evil beings. It's kind of strange. Are the others just going to be that? Are they going to be inherently evil, destructive beings? That doesn't feel right. So I don't think it's going to be as simple as we want to march south to kill everyone and destroy everything and that's it. As if they're sort of blank weapons. They were weapons created by the Children of the Forest that went wild and we have to defeat them. That just doesn't... I don't think it's going to be that simple. In terms of what exactly they want, it could be that there was some kind of pact that was broken. Some people say that there must always be a Stark and Winterfell pact was broken, and that's why they came down, but that feels a bit petty. That feels a bit strange to me. We know that Craster has some kind of deal with them, with giving them his children. Who knows, was the White Walker threat sort of building up, but it was truly Craster being killed and that bargain ending, the giving of children to them, that officially made them go, okay, we are now attacking beyond the wall, whereas before they were just... But then that doesn't make sense, because it's implied in the first 3 books that they are accumulating strength and they're coming further south and they're being seen, and the wild, Mance Rayder's uniting the wildlings to get away from them. Will it? Many people say, will it be ended with a sort of a peace negotiation, an alliance? some kind of deal, maybe a marriage. There is a mysterious character, the Night's King. Not the Night King, but the Night's King. An old, ancient Lord Commander, more of a myth, a legend, than anything, who apparently fell in love with a really pale woman with bright blue eyes and married her, and some people say it's a white, some people it may have been, an other, that he married an other, and perhaps that was a pact. Perhaps there was some sort of alliance there. The Lord Commander, the Night's King, will marry an other, and I don't know. There's a lot going on, and they are still super mysterious, considering the very first chapter of the very first book, the prologue of Game of Thrones, is about these creatures, these beings. Could have definitely inspired by elves of Irish mythology. But then we barely see them, and they're building up strength and so on, but we don't know anything about how they live, their culture. We know that they have their own language, that their voice sounds like crackling ice, and that David Peterson, who created Valyrian and Dothraki and so on for the show, High Valyrian, also created a White Walker language for season 1 for the pilot episode, but then they had to reshoot the pilot and they decided not to give them a language, and then they sort of became silent. It could just be a battle. They just need to be defeated in battle in the Long Night. Could be a pact, an alliance. There's one theory about an exodus, the idea that Jon's story is leading towards not defeating the White Walkers, but leading the people of Westeros to safety, to Essos, like a reverse, a reversal of what happened in the past with the First Men and the Andals crossing over. That they will all migrate back to Essos. Jon Snow brings the wildlings through the wall and then guides the people of the north, maybe even all of Westeros away. Or I can't remember the theory. I haven't read that in a while. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. The others are very, very mysterious. I'm really not sure what the idea is. But again, Taytans, thank you for that super chat. I like to read as many comments as possible. I like to respond to many questions, so you don't need to send super chats. But I hugely appreciate it, because obviously this is my job, and this allows me to keep doing this full time and work towards, getting a better microphone, so on. Speaking of, I hope my audio is good. Okay. So let's do another Shireen sacrifice. This time, Stannis. Stannis will sacrifice Shireen. So this implies that Stannis has won the Battle of Ice and probably secured Winterfell. Either that or he's lost and he's retreated, but that doesn't really feel like a Stannis thing. I feel like that wouldn't really help the story. If he got defeated at Winterfell and then instead of completely losing just fled back to the wall, it's like, what's the point? So he will probably win the Battle of Ice. He'll probably take Winterfell. But the idea is that it will be more impactful emotionally for Stannis to make the decision. Because if Melisandre does it, it will be horrible, it will be emotional, it will make sense for her character and so on. But Stannis deciding to do that to his own daughter, I honestly think that's slightly more likely. As of now, as of the end of Dance with Dragons, it's more likely Melisandre would than Stannis. But clearly Stannis is going to have to go through some character changes to the point where he's like, I'm going to sacrifice my daughter. Because his character's been building towards that. The idea of he will bend before he breaks. Is that the phrase? Or am I completely getting that the wrong way around? Or will he break before he bends? It's kind of important to know which one it is, because otherwise... Anyway. But, the Edric Dane, he was... Edric Storm, getting confused. Edric Storm, he was going to sacrifice Edric Storm. In the show, it was going to be Gendry. He's sort of working towards this. What is the fate of one bastard boy against an entire kingdom? And of course, Davos says everything. It's everything. But Stannis, if imagine that sort of foreshadowing, where his mindset will become darker, and it will become, I need to sacrifice my daughter to save the kingdom. And I think if it is going to happen, it will be to save the kingdom. It will not be, we need to melt some snow Melisandre smugly look at some icicles melting. Hell yeah, let's march forward to Winterfell. Oh, we didn't scout, we didn't set anything up, we've been defeated. Goodbye, pointless arc. Stannis' entire plot and arc in the show, literally, if you look at it in its entirety, it exists to get Melisandre at the wall to resurrect Jon Snow. That's why it exists. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it will have to be something bigger. I don't think it will be about the weather. I don't think it will be about the throne. You know, the only way we can be powerful enough to march south. I think it will be about the White Walker threat. It will be Stannis believing that yes, he has to. That maybe he is Azor Ahai, and yes, he has to save the kingdom if he wants to rule it. Maybe he will, in his mind, he is choosing life over the throne. Life versus death being a bigger struggle, you know, men versus White Walkers, than his ambitions for the throne. And that he will come up against the White Walkers and he will sacrifice Shireen to deal some blow. You know, sort of have the Lord of Light on my side. This has to be done. There would have to be a monumental reason for him to do that. Monumental. And he will have to be at his lowest point. So it could be, there's an idea that Stannis will be betrayed by the Northerners. With like, no, we want King Rickon, or maybe King Jon when he's resurrected. We don't want you. And that he had no support, he has nothing, and it's a last resort. We need to fight against the others. I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think. Yes, thank you. He will break before he bends. That's what I meant. Not... Wait. Did someone comment that because that's what I said? I can't remember what I said. Which one did I say? I definitely said the wrong one, right? I just need to think through it logically. Okay, whatever. I'm very tired today, forgive me. Alright, Stannis will sacrifice Shireen. I can see it happening. I think it's slightly more likely than Mel, just because I think, like, emotionally it's more impactful and thematically I think it's more powerful. So it is darker than Melisandre doing it because that's his daughter. So that's right at the top. Very dark. Someone, I think Carl Snark in the chat mentioned Agamemnon. So I'm going to find that comment. And don't worry, I'll do a quick pause later on to check out the chat a bit more. And if you want to send me super chats to help the channel and get us growing, I'd appreciate that too. That'd be awesome. It's completely up to you. Carl, where's your comment, Carl? I saw the word Agamemnon go past. The Fresh Prince of Dead Air. So basically, okay, so while I'm trying to find it, the idea behind Agamemnon is that he's a character in Greek legend, who, you know what? I can't remember. He's involved in a sacrifice. Okay, it's super prepared for this one, aren't I? Super professional. Latecomers here. I was literally three whole minutes late to the stream. People were complaining in the chat. There we go. I found it. Agamemnon sacrifices for favourable winds to sail by. Stannis is doing it for the winds of winter, as it were. Okay, so that's what it is. Is it his daughter or his son? He sacrifices a family member for favourable winds. I think it won't be something like favourable weather like the show, as I've said. Okay, let's move on. What are we doing next? Oh, another sacrifice one. This is a weird one. This is Melisandre will sacrifice Ghost, the direwolf. So this one's a bit of a stretch, but let's jump into it. Yes, thank you, Carl. He did sacrifice his daughter during the Trojan War. Thank you. So the idea here is that Melisandre looks into the flames and sees Jon Snow turning into a wolf and back again. Now, she doesn't understand what she's seeing, but of course what the flames are showing her is Jon is a warg. He has that connection with Ghost. And there's the idea that when Jon dies, his last words are Ghost. And that, as foreshadowed, set up, rather, in the Varamir Six Skins prologue, when a skin changer can die, they can walk into something else and sort of live a second life. And I think it's the Varamir prologue where he talks about a direwolf being walking into a direwolf would be a second life fit for a king, which seems like some cheeky little foreshadowing there. So people suspect Jon will walk into Ghost, and that could affect who he is when he comes back to life, which we'll explore soon with some un-Jon theories, some undead Jon theories. But the idea here is that Melisandre considers Ghost to have king's blood because Jon Snow and Ghost are kind of the same, and he walks into him, and maybe he's in Ghost, and if she burns Ghost, then she's burning him, and he's a king's blood, because Rhaegar, and then he will come back to life, but without Ghost, but he will be one with Jon will be resurrected as kind of Wolfman Jon, where he's half Jon, half Ghost anyway, and yeah, it's no, that's kind of dumb. Can you imagine Ghost like on his hind legs, tied up, apple in his mouth, getting burned by Melisandre? So is it dark? Yes, because it's Ghost. We love Ghost. It's not gonna happen. Gonna put that there. Yeah, it's dark because it's an animal, but it's not a human. It's kind of. But who knows? Who knows? And let's do one last. Okay, those are the sacrifice ones. Let's do another Shireen one, but it's not a sacrifice. Shireen will be eaten, not by a dragon, as in her dreams, but by Patchface. That's right. The crazy fool, the insane jester, himself perhaps a water wight, as some have suggested. For those who don't know, Patchface was a fool from across the Narrow Sea. I can't remember, Volantis? Probably Volantis, right? He's a slave, and he has motley, green and red motley tattooed onto his face, because slaves from Volantis have tattoos to designate what their role is in society. What they've been trained for, what their body type suits them for, and so on. And so, I believe, was it Lord Stephen Baratheon, Stannis and Robert, and so on, their parents purchased him as a fool, because apparently he was one of the wittiest fools ever. He was incredibly smart and funny. But then, of course, Lord Stephen and his wife Cassana Estamont are killed in the shipwreck that made young Robert Lord. But Patchface survived and came ashore, and he was completely insane. Gone was the, smarmy, witty, cunning jester with his sharp wit and ribald humour, and now here we have this sort of large, lumbering, seemingly lack-wit, borderline insane jester, close friends with Shireen, but spouting prophecies, singing prophecies, these strange lines, I know, oh. Some of the stuff he says, like, the shadows come to play my lord, and the shadows, well, it turns out later in Clash of Kings, we have the Shadow Baby killing Renly and Courtney Penrose, and he talks about, under the sea, mermaids, blah, 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 maybe reference to the Manderlys with the mermaids, and I need to get a list of his stuff up, but he has lots of really interesting, crazy little songs, these little rhymes, like nursery rhymes that he sings that are very weird and creepy, and they seem prophetic. A lot of them have sort of come true, in a way. And he has a role to play, and we don't yet know what it is. He's currently at the Wall. And again, he nearly drowned, and then he comes back, and he's singing about under the sea and prophecy. Some people, is he a wight? Was he raised from the depths? Is he a champion or a disciple or an acolyte or a puppet of the drowned god, if the drowned god is an actual being? Are we never going to know? Is it just going to be a weird, creepy, mysterious, Lovecraftian thing that George is dangling in front of us, but it won't ever be explained because that might ruin the mystery? I don't know. But Melisandre considers him to be dangerous. Patchface is a dangerous fool. And she sees a vision in the flames of Patchface with his mouth covered in blood. which is absolutely terrifying. But what does this represent? Well, some people say it represents Shireen being eaten. The Patchface, for whatever reason, will eat Shireen. And or that he might generally bite and eat someone because the blood around the mouth. Maybe Shireen does get sacrificed and he loses it because Shireen's his friend and he's biting people. But you're probably thinking, okay, sure, blood in the face, he's crazy, he might go eating people. Lots of cannibalism happening in the north. In the last few books. But why Shireen? Why would he eat his friend? But that's the thing. I said before, earlier on in the live stream, Shireen has dreams of dragons, stone dragons eating her. And the idea behind this theory, to wrap it all up, is that Patchface is a dragon. Because he's a secret Targaryen. Boom. There we go. No, seriously, that's a theory. Yet another like I said, this Reddit post was 8 years old. It's 8 years old. So maybe secret Targs weren't boring back then, like they are now. But yes, the idea is that he's a secret Targaryen, and Shireen's vision of him eating her Shireen's is because he is a dragon. There's not much else to it. Oh, he's from... No, let's take it seriously. He's from Essos. Perhaps he's descended from the Blackfires. Patchface Blackfire. Maybe he's descended from the Bright Flames. You know, he's crazy. Perhaps he's inherited it from Aerion Brightflame and Aerion's son Maegor Brightflame, of which we know very little. Probably not, though. And also Stone Dragon. What's Patchface got to do with stone? Oh, something in its favour, though. The prophetic rhymes he gives. Maybe dragon dreams. There we go. Anyway, I've rambled about Patchface for too long. This is not going to happen. Patchface isn't a Targaryen. He's not going to eat Shireen. Unless he eats her once she's been cooked up by Melisandre. Maybe he wants some Shireen wings. Some spicy wings. Okay, I'm going to go... Is it dark? Yes, it's dark. God, it's just children animals dying so far. Jesus. I put it on the same level of her being burnt. But is it going to happen? Nah. It's not. It's over. It's over. It's not happening. But I am curious. Let me know in the chat, what do you think about Patchface? What's his role beyond generally being creepy and giving that dark, sinister, mysterious vibe to Dragonstone and Stannis' story in general? But what's his fate? And why does he have blood on over his mouth in Melisandre's vision? So interesting. Actually, I'm going to add another one that isn't in the Reddit post. This is the final children dying, specifically Shireen theory. We need some more variety. But this one is that Shireen's sacrifice will spread grayscale. So the idea here is that Shireen has grayscale. Oh, whoopsie, bumped my mic. Shireen has grayscale. It's dormant. If you're a child, it can become dormant and you can survive it. Excuse me. There we go. My mic going crazy. So she has grayscale, and when she is burnt, it will spread. That she'll be burnt, and somehow it will sort of the fumes, the fire, the smoke, the ashes. It will somehow spread her grayscale across the wall, and everyone will be infected. And this will somehow, I don't know, maybe spread throughout the north. Because in the south we have John Con, so will John Connington infect the south with grayscale? Will Shireen infect the north? Is it that the others will come through and people infected with grayscale will become whites, and then we will have sort of a mixture between the stone men and the whites, and they're going to spread, and then they will infect people and touch people, and everyone who's touched and infected will die and then become a white. So it's sort of almost like a zombie apocalypse, where it's not just white, because in the show that the whites are very much like zombies going and like crawling everywhere, whereas in the books it's like they are silent undead and they wield swords. You know, they're like puppets, they're meat puppets. But maybe it's going to be like a zombie apocalypse where these whites will spread infected by grayscale, leading back to Shireen's sacrifice. Who knows? Oh, and this mostly comes down to the fact that although her grayscale is apparently harmless, Val, the wildling, says that it's dangerous. Lots of characters calling each other dangerous. And then we make crazy theories out of it. Saying that the grayscale is not, it's not healed, it never goes away, she's a dangerous girl. That has to be there for a reason, right? So what's gonna happen? Is she gonna spread? I'm not sure about this one. I'm not sure what the point would be in her spreading grayscale in the north. I can see it being spread in the south as like an extra thing. But has anyone come up with what I said, by the way, about not grayscale spreading across the wall, but the stone men white hybrid, where it becomes a sort of infectious zombie army? I don't know, but it is dark. And grayscale plague is dark. I'm gonna say, I don't see it happening. Yeah, but I think it's more likely than the others, because there has to be a reason. Why Val called her dangerous. So I'll place it there. It doesn't matter anyway. I take this too seriously. I hope you like the paint setup, by the way. New people here, very professional, right? I'm working on it. Oh, I have another super chat. I apologise for. I was trying to get to those as soon as possible. So thoughts on Jon taking a heel turn and becoming the Night's King. Interesting. So I spoke earlier about. I'll quickly jump into this. I spoke earlier about the Night's King, about how he married a woman with pale skin, blue eyes, that she could be a white or an other, probably an other, and it could represent some kind of pact or something that happened in the past. So perhaps Jon will become the new Night's King, the Lord Commander of Stark descent, who forges an alliance, not necessarily an alliance, but forges a pact, a sort of marriage pact, marries an other to end the long night, or something along those lines. Maybe. Or the Night's King might just be a sort of fun background myth that's used as cute foreshadowing for the future. So sort of George in his mind had the idea of the Stark descended emo Night's Watch Lord Commander who marries another and is like, oh, I'll have one in the past, and Jon is like the modern day version, all history repeating. Maybe. But we'll be going into Jon theories very, very soon. Especially un-Jon. In fact, no, we'll go into him next, actually. Why not? So, yeah, thank you for the super chat, Bran. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brandon. So, next up, we have the Jon Snow theories. Are you ready? Are you ready for the Jon Snow theories? The first one is no Jon POV. So the idea here is that literally Winds of Winter, we're not going to see Jon's perspective ever again. We just don't go back to him. That the reader has to rely on second-hand rumours, about wildling armies, the undead, betrayals, assassinations, but we don't actually see what happens at the wall. We just hear about it. But we do have Melisandre as a POV, so it would be weird if we just suddenly ditched that. So, but even so, we might have Mel as a POV, but because of that, that's how we learn what's happening at the wall, and we don't get anything from Jon. Not because he stays dead, right? But because we just don't know what's in his head. It could be that Jon gets resurrected and he is sort of un-Jon, right? He's undead. He might be... Maybe he's lost his memory like Beric. Maybe he's brutal like Lady Stoneheart. Maybe he's wolf-like because he's spent a second life as Ghost before coming back. And as a result, he's sort of, he is dark. He's a lot darker and more ruthless and nastier and so on. Dark Jon. And we don't get inside his head. We don't get to, explore this character that we've loved and grown up with and, explored. He's cut off. It's like a gate stopping us from going into his mind, and we only see him through Melisandre. I don't know whether this theory is like we literally never again get a Jon POV or just for wins. I don't see this happening. I think there could be a big chunk of wins where that's true. We don't go in his head, that we only get Melisandre, either because he's staying dead or because he resurrects and we don't. But I think in wins it will jump in. We might even get ghost chapters. We might get sort of almost experimental, artsy chapters that are dead Jon in Ghost's body, sort of super confused and sort of like a weird hybrid mind. He's trying to understand what's going on. That could be fun. That could be lots of fun. But yeah, I think we will get a Jon POV. So I'm gonna. And how dark is it? It sucks. I wouldn't say it's dark. It sucks if we wouldn't get him, but I don't think it's gonna happen at all. I'll put it here. I'll put it down here because it's kind of like, you know, it's a bit like, okay, it's just disappointing. More disappointing than dark. More like, okay, but this is a wasted opportunity. We want to see what's happening in Jon Snow's mind after he gets resurrected. We don't just want to see him from... And again, like I said, for a little bit, seeing him from an outside perspective could be fun, but if we literally never go into his thoughts, it's like, okay, how do we know what he's going to feel about the Rhaegar revelation and stuff like that? And then another one, of course, this reminded me, Jon's so dead. Literally, he doesn't come back. He's just dead. He's completely undead. Sorry, not undead. That comes later. No, he's just completely, fully undead. He just stays dead. Melisandre tries to revive him. Doesn't work. That's the end of the story at the wall. We have Mel at the wall to see what happens. That's it. Goodbye. He got assassinated, right? Actions have consequences. He's not coming back. Yeah, this is obviously not happening. This is like so not happening. And it's dark, but it's also like dumb. So him staying dead would be dark. I see. I'm sort of treating dark as like dark but cool. Like, okay, this is horrible, but in a way that works, like thematically, narratively. Mare as both either not dark or like no, doesn't work. Like Jon staying dead would be stupid. So I'm gonna put it down here. It's not gonna happen though. So, next up we have... I think I'm going to merge a bunch of Jon theories into one. So this is the idea... So there's this idea that Jon will come back darker, more ruthless, as I mentioned. But that's not necessarily, that's not necessarily super dark. What I'm thinking is, for this one, Lord StoneJon. So, basically, he comes back as Lady Stoneheart. So... which is to say, he's not the same character. In the same way that you could argue Lady Stoneheart is basically a new character, because she is this warped, twisted monster, driven by fire and hatred and vengeance. Maybe Lord StoneJon will be that. He will come back and all he'll care about is vengeance. Killing those who defied me. Killing Ramsay and the Boltons for doing everything that they did, what they did to my sister, what they did to my family, fighting against the others, but as this sort of, horrible, monstrous, almost tyrannical man with no sense of honour, no sense of compassion or anything like that. Lord StoneJon. Another aspect of this is that he would lose his memory. Right? Because Beric, the more he's resurrected, the more he loses his memory. He forgets the face of his betrothed, who was Illyria Dane. And I know that, not because I know... I recently did a deep dive into House Dane, because I'm working on an exclusive Dane video for my upcoming Patreon, and I completely forgot that Ashara and Arthur have a younger sister called Illyria Dane. I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah... Whoops. Yeah, and that Illyria was Lord Beric's betrothed. That's the woman. He doesn't remember her hair colour. He doesn't remember any of that. Maybe Lord StoneJon will forget what his friends look like. Sam comes back from Old Town. He doesn't recognise him. Maybe he won't recognise his own sister again, Arya Stark. Sister/cousin. So yeah, this is not just that he comes back ruthlessly, but that he comes back as an evil tyrant, as a monster, basically a villain. Is this going to happen? No. Dark Jon, Wolf Jon, Edgy Jon. Yeah, I would like to see that. Not. I don't want to see another Lady Stoneheart. I think we're going to get something darker than Beric, but not as dark as Lady Stoneheart. I think it will mix the two of them. we'll have a mixture of Lady Stoneheart and Lord Beric in personality, losing the memory, being dark, but it won't be as extreme as either. I will say, not going to happen. It's over. Not happening. Is it dark? It is dark, and it's not necessarily... It's not meh. It's like, yeah, no, this could be an interesting idea, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm being really... Oh my god, look how confident I'm being. I'm like, here are dark theories that are not happening. Is it that they're not happening, or I don't want them to happen? It's probably the latter. But yeah, I don't think it's going to... He's just... No. We already have Lady Stoneheart. We don't need another one. Like, she exists as a reminder of... that she exists as a personification of vengeance and a reminder of what evils can be brought about by resurrecting someone. How much they can change. Because when people are resurrected, they need to change. Shout out to Jon Snow in the show, who gets resurrected and becomes slightly moodier, and B, uses his death as a legalistic loophole to leave the Night's Watch and eventually become king. Which I don't think is going to happen. Who's that in the chat? Is that Quinn the GM? Is that Quinn the grandmother? Quinn the Gum? How's your little holiday, Quinn? Hope you're enjoying the Guinness. Lord Snowheart. Oh, that's from Kieran. I like that. Okay, so leading on from the sort of this darker Jon being forgetful like Beric, what happens, as I said, with Arya? What if he forgets what Arya looks like? So, Jon forgets Arya. So there's a theory here that because Jon is resurrected, he has cheated death, and so he has angered the many-faced god and the faceless men. Okay, someone's been resurrected, we need to kill them. I don't necessarily know if that's their modus operandi, that they would kill someone who's rumoured to have been resurrected, but maybe they send Arya to do it. Or as a test or something, to make sure she truly is no one. They send her to kill Jon. And she doesn't know it's Jon, she just thinks it's the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Oh wait, no, she knows it. See, that's already a hole in the theory. She knows the Lord Commander is Jon, because Sam tells her when he goes to Bravos. But let's say she goes anyway, tries to become no one, doesn't work, can't kill her brother. He sees her, just sees an assassin, doesn't recognise her, kills her. Or that she's wearing there's another version of the theory that she'll be wearing someone else's face, and that's why he kills her. So Jon forgets Arya and kills her. I say him forgetting what his family look like, I can see happening. That'd be quite dark. Him forgetting Arya and killing her. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. A lot of these are kind of weird. Nah, he's not going to do that. That would be a really stupid end for Arya's story. It'll be shocking for the sake of being shocking. It is dark, though. Some more family killing family, so I'm going to put it up here. But there's no way that's going to happen. What else do we have? We have one about... This kind of links into Lord Snowheart, Lord StoneJon, whatever, about him enslaving the North and fighting for the living. I'm not going to put that one because that kind of comes under him being a tyrant, but... Oh, okay. Lord Snowheart has Dolorous Ed's tongue removed. So the idea here is that Dolorous Ed makes one too many moody, sarcastic, Carl Pilkington-esque quips, and Lord Snowheart has no time for that. He's got no patience for that, and he just snaps his fingers, take his tongue out. It would be really unnecessary and quite dark. Again, it's just a tongue, so it's not super dark, but my boy Ed, that's all he's got going for him, his wit. So yeah, it's gonna go down here. It's not a huge deal, but it would be a way to show that Jon is darker and more ruthless without just full on, crossing that moral event horizon and like killing Dolorous Ed, which would just be like, what the hell? Having his tongue removed, I could see that kind of happening. I don't think that's like super likely, but I'll put it there. I can see him actually. Yeah, we're so back. I can see him being fed up of Ed's shit and being like, fetch me a hot pincer. Okay. And the final resurrection one regarding Jon is that not that he'll be, because this is of course assuming that he'll be a fire white, that he'll be animated like Beric and Lady Stoneheart. What if Jon is animated as a white? Let me be specific, as an ice white. So what if the others animate him? So wait, can I? Jon the White. So this can take two forms. Either he comes back as a mindless zombie white, which would just be kind of disappointing, or he's resurrected with more sentience. You know, almost like a lieutenant of the others, where he's working solely for them, but he's got his wits about him, and he's sort of pretending to be the normal Jon, but he's not really. He's a puppet of the others. And this links into one theory. Actually, I'll expand this. I'll mix this with another theory. Jon the Ice White blows the horn of Joramun. So the idea here is that Jon Snow's working for the others. Sam comes back from Old Town, maybe after Euron's attack. He's got the horn. Jon Snow, the Ice White, knows what it is. Grabs it, kills Sam, grabs it, blows it, destroys the wall, becomes the human face of the others. I don't see this happening at all. Quinn mentioned in the chat, I need to dive into chat a bit more. A third option is that Bran / Bloodraven's magic resurrection, like Cold Hands, that's true. Cold Hands is some sort of, definitely an undead being. Maybe he becomes an Ice White, almost in service to whatever resurrected Cold Hands, whether that is Bloodraven, whether it's a sort of weirwood network, whether it's the Children of the Forest, and he serves the old gods, perhaps. Fire White serving the Lord of Light, the others serving the Great Other, the Patchface serving the drowned god, Jon serving the old gods. Oh, I don't know how much of this is true. So for this, he will be resurrected. I do think it's going to be Melisandre. I don't think it's going to be any Ice White stuff. And he's definitely not going to blow the horn of Joramun. Can you imagine if Jon Snow destroys the wall? So it would be dark, because darkly ironic, right? The guy trying to fight against the White Walkers, trying to unite people, gets destroyed. No, sorry, destroys the wall. He destroys the wall and therefore Westeros. Not going to happen. It is dark though. Let's put it at next to Lord StoneJon. This corner is just ridiculous. So, this is really dark, but it's not going to happen, guys, okay? The next book's going to be Sunshine, Rainbows, Lands of Milk and Honey. Okay. Oh, interesting. Quinn, the GM, back at it again with some facts and logic. In the Cushing drafts, so there's some drafts in the Cushing library that got leaked recently, right? There's a ton of indication that Gurm wanted Bran to have a part to play in Jon's resurrection. I didn't know that. Interesting. I wonder how indirect that will be, though. How direct or indirect. I don't think it will be a kind of cold hand situation. I think Melisandre will resurrect him. But I can see Jon being involved. Who knows? Maybe when Jon is in Ghost, Bran will almost be able to communicate with him. Or, I don't know, Bran will warg Jon. Bran will warg undead Jon. And, no, okay, that's enough. I don't know. Again, like I said, these are old. These are theories mostly taken from a Reddit post that is 8 years old. It's post season 5, so it's post Jon Snow being killed, post Stannis losing, like in the show, Jon Snow being killed, Stannis losing against the Boltons and so on. So it's clearly influenced by that. There's lots of missing puzzle pieces that we now know, that we can apply those. So what else is there? Okay, so this one is confirmation that Jojen paste is real. I think it's real. Like, I think that... Oh, sorry. There's lots of evidence for it. Shift X video is, of course, a classic. Yeah, I think it's true. It's weirwood paste that Bran's being fed. Apparently, it's basically cannibalism. He is eating Jojen Reed, who is a green seer, and somehow his blood is activating Bran's powers, making them stronger. Excuse me. And the sap is described as being sort of red as blood. If it is sap, that's the thing. And Jojen is quite fatalistic and depressed in the caves, and then he kind of goes missing, right? In that last Bran chapter we've ever got. Because he's a green seer. Has he seen his future? Does he know that he is destined to be consumed by Bran? I think this is probably happening. It is very dark. Bran consuming his friend. More children dying. That's what most of this is. And I do think it's likely. In fact, this one, I think this is the likeliest so far. Yeah, I'm going to put it there. It's the likeliest so far. Okay, once I've done all the theories at the wall and beyond, then we're going to check out the chat. And then, after that, we're going to jump into the north. Because more people voted for the wall, but you know what? I'm not just going to stick there. I love you guys. We're going to check out the north as well. Load of more fun theories. And send me your theories as well. If you're sending super chats, then I'm going to prioritise those questions, those theories. But if not, just put it in the chat and I will get around to it at some point. Because, you know, only 81 people watching, which means, yeah, I'm going to do my best to respond to everyone. Okay, so the next one. Oh, okay, we got some weird ones now. Strap into your seatbelts. Wait, you don't strap into your seatbelt, you strap into your chair with your seatbelt. Anyway, this is Bran being weird with warging. I hope I don't get demonetized. I hope I don't get taken down. So the first one here is that Bran will commit all 3 skin changer abominations. So there are 3 sort of abominations here with skin changing, the 3 rules you're not allowed to do, like the Harry Potter, the 3 forbidden curses, don't know why I'm saying that. What were they? Yes, one of them is you can't eat human meat, right? So like walking into a wolf and consuming human meat. Bran's done that already, and not just as a wolf, but actually as a human. When Cold Hands brings him some meat that tastes like pork, and it's implied to be the cooked flesh of the Night's Watch mutineers at Craster's Keep that Cold Hands has slain. Arya has also broken our rule because she has eaten some bloody mummers, some of the brave companions, while walked in Nymeria. The other... Just wait for the plane to go overhead. Do excuse me. Right, the other abomination is walking into other people, which he's done. He's already walked into Hodor, which is messes with people's minds. And the idea is it's probably simpler for him to do it into Hodor because he's simple-minded. And then the last one is mating in animal form is not allowed. This is the abomination he hasn't committed. And I hope he doesn't commit it. Because the last thing we need from Winds of Winter is Bran walking into summer and mating with a wolf or something. We don't need that. I guess the idea behind this theory is that Bran is... Yeah, no. Why am I trying to justify it? No. I don't think he will. Like, it is mentioned as a big deal, the abominations, and him committing 2 is a big deal, but I think him committing the 3rd one feels like something that may have happened post 5-year time skip, where you bring him up from being a 9-year-old into being a 14-year-old, or an 8-year-old to a 3rd, whatever, being a teenager, and sort of maybe he's having feelings, he doesn't know how to express them, so he's doing messed up stuff while walking. That feels like it could be quite a George R. R. Martin thing, But as a kid, it would be too weird, and even for George. So, is it going to happen? No. He's not going to mate another animal as an animal. Is it dark? Yes. Looks like this entire section is dedicated to bad things happening to children. Grayscale, it's not as bad as sparking a pandemic with a child sacrifice. That's surprisingly low, that one. Ghost dying, I'm going to put it down here. It's not as dark as those ones, but it's still pretty dark, and I don't think it's happening. But yeah, it gets weirder. So the next one is the idea that Bran will try to walk into Meera. So he walks into Hodor, as I said. It's easier because he's more simple-minded. The idea here is that he will walk into Meera thinking that he has, the willpower to do so because he's done it with Hodor, but he can't. And it will mirror what happens in the prologue with Varamir Sixskins, where he tries to walk into a wildling woman, and it's such an insane, torturous, horrific process for her, being taken over, that she literally kills herself. And that what will happen is Jojen's dead. Meera will say, I'm leaving. I don't have anything to do with this. Bran, no, you're my last friend. You're my only friend. Don't leave me. He walks her to stop her from leaving. Maybe like instinctively, impulsively, or in a planned, premeditated way. But either way, he will walk her and she will kill herself, which would be horrible. 2 of his Crannogman friends dead. So, I haven't written that one down. So, Bran walks into Meera and she kills herself. More child death. So, I don't think this is gonna happen, which is what I've said for all of them at this point. I don't see it. I don't know. Oh, that would be... Actually, there's no reason why it wouldn't happen. Where it's sort of a test of his limits, where he moves on from Hodor to someone else and it's a step too far. And maybe it's a shocking moment where he finally realises the horror of skin changing a human. And either that he'll never do it again, or that if he is to do it, it has to have a greater purpose, and that he has to understand how much of a necessary evil it is. Because at the moment, he's a young kid, he doesn't fully appreciate the consequences of his actions, and he's walking Hodor and he's not really seeing it as a mindfuck. He's seeing it as, it's something I have to do every now and then, and Hodor, it's easy to do, right? But him doing it to Meera and her freaking out like that and killing herself could make him take a step back and go, okay, no, this is bad. This is bad. Proper slap in the face. So actually, yeah, I've changed my mind. It could happen. I will put it in the could happen. Dark, very dark. I will put it up here. Yeah, put it up here. And then we have one final theory that is specifically Beyond the Wall and Bran related. And you've probably heard of this one because it is really messed up. And I can't use the word because my video might disappear. But Bran, how do I phrase this? Bran will walk Hodor and... Right, so Bran will walk Hodor and essentially force himself onto Meera, which is horrific, and that theory still stays with me because I remember, like I said, this is one of the first posts I saw on r/SongViceFire when I first got into the books and I was searching up theories, and this one made me feel physically sick. I was like, oh, I'm not going to talk about it that much. It's horrible. The general idea is that Bran has like a crush on Meera, clearly, from his point of view. So the idea is that he will feel frustrated that his legs don't work, and maybe, who knows, maybe his genitals don't work either, and that he will try and release his tension by walking Hodor and doing this, maybe semi-accidentally, maybe on purpose. I don't know. It's horrific. It's really unnecessary and gross. And again, if it was post-time skip, I could see it as like a really, really fucked up George thing, where it's, horny teenage Bran does something horrific. Because he's like 9 or something, no. Yeah. This one can go in the dustbin. This one, it's dark. It's not happening. Like, it's not happening. Yeah. Okay, that was The Wall and Beyond. So, before we go on to the north, and all the theories in the north, of which there are many, and they are just as dark, I'm going to check out some of the messages in the live chat. So let's have a look, shall we? What have I missed out on? This is the best part of the stream, where the streamer goes silent and reads the chat. Wait, no, stop closing. Stop. Okay. Let's see what we have. Oh, the whole chat isn't showing. No. Oh, this is because I'm getting loads more messages than I usually do. Oh, that's kind of cool. That feels different. Let me see the most recent ones then, at least. Yeah. Callum saying the mirror thing would feel edgy for the sake of edginess. I agree. That would just be edgy. Yeah, Bran's pretty kind. Yeah, it's out of character for Bran. It doesn't. Yeah, he's too young. It wouldn't make sense. It does feel weirdly George, but it doesn't make sense. Let's see. See, Bloodraven. Yeah, the Bloodraven stuff. Very intriguing. I love him as a character. What I don't like, though, is people... I don't like how everything has... When theorists feel the need to explain every single thing that happens as being part of a wider conspiracy. So, you see it with the Mesa conspiracy, with Dornish conspiracy, with Blackfire conspiracy. All these different conspiracies. Grand Northern... You know, randomness happens. Individuals with agency perform acts. They have consequences. Various people perform acts. All these consequences come together and create something bigger, which leads on to this and that, and other people exploit it, and some of it is planned and some of it is accidental. The outbreak of the War of the Five Kings is a perfect mixture of stuff. It's a Littlefinger... not Littlefinger, sorry. It's... Oh no, yeah, it's a Littlefinger conspiracy. He sows the seed, he lies, he stirs up tension. But then you also have Jaime and Cersei, whose relationship leads to all this tension and friction and the bastard children, and then that leads to her killing Robert, and then Ned's execution, but that was Joffrey. And so there are so many things that are tied into the outbreak of the War of the Five Kings. Individual acts, stupidity, malice, conspiracy. But I don't like everything being conspiracy. So to wrap this up, I'm rambling again. To wrap this up, the whole Bloodraven issue, for me, is when people say that everything that's ever happened was Bloodraven influencing events. The boar that killed Robert was Bloodraven. I don't know. Everyone's birth was Bloodraven. Every decision that happened was Bloodraven. The Mad King's mad because Bloodraven/Bran spoke to him and made him crazy. It's just kind of boring, isn't it? More interesting that things happen because people do things, flawed human beings act on their agency, and then there are consequences as a result of that, as opposed to Bloodraven does everything, and the Maesters are doing all the other things that Bloodraven isn't doing. But that doesn't mean there aren't fun things that he is doing. I just don't want him to be behind literally everything. I have another super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much from Boom Blur. 50 PLN. What's PLN? I'm not sure what currency is that. I feel very stupid. What do you think happened to the Targ swords Blackfire and Dark Sister? And do you think either or both will play any role in the story? Personally, I think Vagon will get Blackfire. Thank you, Bloomblur. I agree with Blackfire. I think Aegon will have it. And I think it will be used as a source of symbolism and imagery to show that he is the legitimate ruler. As Otto would say, he has the Conqueror's name, the Conqueror's sword. He doesn't have the Conqueror's crown, unfortunately. You can't complete the trio. But yeah, I think because is it in the Dance with Dragons, or is it in a sample chapter, or is it in a chapter that was deleted, found in the library? I get so confused. But something about swords is mentioned, right? Like someone's talking off screen and they're saying, Griff, young Griff, he needs to know the sword, and I think Tyrion can't quite hear what they're saying. The implication is that the sword could be Blackfire. That's not the implication of the scene, actually. That's what fans have read into it. But yeah, I think so. Dark Sister should be with Bloodraven, right? because he wielded Dark Sister. He went beyond the wall. Dark Sister should be with him in that cave. Am I right? I can't remember. Dark Sister's with Bloodraven, right? Although it hasn't been mentioned as being in the cave, which is interesting. Or has it? I'm not sure. But either way, it's always fun seeing the history of these swords and where they... Wait. No. Whoa, pull back. I'm completely wrong, aren't I? I'm completely wrong. Dark Sister... Bloodraven doesn't have Dark Sister. I thought Dark Sister disappeared with Daemon after he plummets into the God's Eye Lake. I'm getting so confused with my swords. I'm not sure. Okay. So yeah, but George loves his swords. He loves swords. He loves naming things. Everyone names their swords. Lots of people name their swords. Lots of... You have been demonetized by YouTube. Okay, PLN is Polish currency. Okay. That's awesome. You must be from Poland. That's cool. Thank you so much. Alright, shall we dive into the northern theories then? Shall we dive in? Give me a couple of seconds to get some water. Okay, people in the chat are saying that it's been confirmed by George R. R. Martin that Bloodraven did take Dark Sister beyond the wall. Okay, interesting. Yes, it was found in Aemon's Eye. That's a good point. Yes, awesome. It's in his cave. Cool. So in the south, we could have potentially the future King Aegon the 6th Targaryen / Aegon the 1st Blackfire with Blackfire, and in the north, Bran will have access to Dark Sister, which isn't going to stay there. Like, I'm sure Bran and the gang will leave the cave like in the show, but they'll probably take the sword with them. Very interesting. Okay, moving on to... I would love to go and read the entire chat, because I'm sure there'll be loads of cool questions, but I need to do a better job at looking at them as they come up. Like I said, I need 2 monitors. I have a monitor, and then I have an iPad to look at my notes, and my phone to check out the live chat. It's very annoying. And on top of that, I've got ADHD, which means I get easily overwhelmed by multiple things happening at once. So the fact that 80 people are still sticking with me, thank you so much. You're the G's. You're the fans. You guys are the best. Okay, the North. Let's get into some proper Northern conspiracy. So the nice simple one, Quinn will like this one. Shout out to Quinn, the GM. Frey pies are real. Frey pies are real. There we go. Yeah, they are. There's not much discussion to have. It would be it's so blatant that Frey pies are real. You have the 3 Freys go missing, 3 giant pies appear. Wyman Manderly's eating them, Aenys is eating them, and one of them could be Rhaegar, which is his son, which mirrors the Rat Cook, and the Rat Cook is all about breaking guess right, and that's what the Freys did, and Wyman asks the Bard to sing, well, specifically Mance Rayder, disguised as Abel the Bard, right, to sing about the Rat Cook. It's so obviously real. Is it smart that Wyman did this? No, because he's a nutcase. He's cool, but he's also insane, which not enough people talk about. But yes, they are real, and it's dark. Yeah, is it fun to see the Freys get their comeuppance? Are they scumbags? Yes, those 3 in particular. But it's still cannibalism, bruh. It's still cannibalism. So it's definitely happened. It's definitely... actually, okay, hold on. It's real. It won't ever be confirmed. We're not going to have Wyman say, haha, I cooked up those Freys, unless he's like specifically bragging to a Frey to mess with them. But I don't think any Frey in the North will survive long enough for him to do that. So I don't think we'll ever know, but I think it's real, and it is mid-dark because it's horrible, but it's also, they kind of deserve it. So there we go. And if you want to know, let me try that again. If you want to learn more about the Frey pies, check out my video on the history of House Frey and Quinn the GM's video about the fate of the Freys, more specifically. There we go. That was a good plug. That was a good shill, except it wasn't because my tongue imploded in on itself. So the next one is Jeyne Poole. Oh, we have another Jeyne Poole one. Are you tired of the theories involving children suffering. Well, tough shit, because we've got plenty more. Jeyne Poole will go... So the idea here is that there's a... Oh, wait, let me write this. Jeyne will seek the gift of mercy from Arya. So the idea here is that there's a Braavosi banker called Tycho Nestoris, played by Mark Gatiss in the show, he of Doctor Who and Sherlock fame. And Tycho is negotiating with Stannis about the Iron Bank, giving a payment, blah, blah, blah. He's currently with Stannis' camp, I believe. Is he? Or is he at the Wall? I can't remember. But either way, he's in the north, and the idea is that Jeyne will be sent to the Wall to safety because they think she's Arya, and when Tycho goes back to Braavos, she will ask to go with him, so that she can go to the House of Black and White and ask for the gift of mercy from the Faceless Men, which is to say, to be painlessly killed after she has suffered so much, with her father dying, what Littlefinger put her through in the brothels, what Ramsay put her through, her losing her nose and just all this stuff, all the horrible stuff. And that Arya will... Well, it doesn't have to be Arya, it could be any Faceless Man, but the idea is that Arya will give her the gift of mercy. And leading on from that, Arya might take her face and use it to kill Littlefinger. Now, not necessarily use it to kill Littlefinger, like, there's not much she can get out of looking like Jeyne Poole, but there would be something ironic about Arya killing the fake Arya that everyone believes is a real Arya, and maybe after that she turns away from being no one and becomes Arya. So no one kills fake Arya to become the real Arya while disguising herself as a fake Arya. Something irony, I don't know. But no, it's kind of a cool concept. That real Arya will wear fake Arya's face and will go to the north in disguise. People won't really recognise her. And maybe... So she won't use the disguise to gain anything, but she can use the disguise to unwittingly create a satisfying moment where perhaps Arya kills Littlefinger disguised as Jeyne Poole, and Littlefinger's responsible for Jeyne Poole going through horrible stuff. And you could say that it will be a fun, ironic death for him, in the sense that he is this mastermind 5D, 16D chess, 3D chess genius who is, always manipulating people and always saying, oh, be careful because every pawn has their own motivation when you move the pawns around the board, blah, blah, blah. In the show when he's like, imagine every scenario at once, at the same time, all together, in your head, Shanja, listen to me. One hell of a speech. Should have got an Emmy for that. And imagine if one of the tiniest pawns that he doesn't give a single shit about, this northern girl that he threw into a brothel and then disguised her as Arya and sent her up north, whatever, irrelevant girl, if she's the last thing he sees before he dies, this pawn he discarded and thought would be completely irrelevant comes back to bite him, and to show that you can be at the top, you can be a genius, but you can't control everything. Maybe that will happen. But I think it makes more sense for Sansa to kill Littlefinger. And even if Arya kills him like on Sansa's orders, why would she do that dressed as Jeyne Poole or with Jeyne Poole's face? That'd be a bit weird. Maybe Arya will wear Jeyne Poole's face to get close to Sansa but no, why would no? So no, okay. So the part about Arya wearing her face is a separate theory. I don't see the point in that. Jeyne leaving to go to Braavos with Tycho to seek the gift of mercy, and then having real Arya wanting to be no one, killing the fake Arya. That could be... I could see that happening. I could see that. I'm going to put that around here. Dark... I mean, it's not as dark as her burning to death, right? It's like it's horrible. Euthanasia, but it's a painless death. So I will put that here. There we go. I don't know. I want Jeyne to have some triumph. I don't want it to be lots of horror and then kills herself because it's too awful. I also don't want it to be some kind of cheesy Jeyne Poole gets her revenge. But she's got to, I don't know, in some way contributing towards the downfall of Ramsay or Littlefinger or something like that. Okay, the next one is another sacrifice. So this is what they're all about. This one is Theon being sacrificed. So at the moment, Stannis has Theon, who has escaped Winterfell with Jeyne. There are two potential ideas here. One is that Theon is sacrificed to the Lord of Light. So to appease the Queen's men in, the fervent R'hllorists in his camp, Stannis needs to perform a sacrifice. He can do it for Theon. Why? Theon has king's blood because he is the son of Balon Greyjoy, who declared himself king. And that could help them in terms of the upcoming Battle of Winterfell, get rid of the blizzard and all that stuff. And Stannis is more likely to kill a random person. Not random, but more likely to kill someone that all he knows about is he's the son of Balon Greyjoy. He killed Stark children, burned Winterfell, and he's been a captive. Doesn't have any attachment to him. I mean, he was willing to burn his bastard nephew, actually, so why would he care about Theon? But I don't think it's going to happen. And there is another theory that Stannis will instead burn Arnulf Karstark, pretending that it's Theon to appease the R'hllorists, and also appease the Northmen who hate Theon, who despise him, who say, this is the man who burnt Winterfell, who killed Bran and Rickon. If you're going to do your sacrifice, fine, but make sure he's dead. And killing Arnulf, the idea is that Arnulf is he's an old man, and Theon, because he's been tortured so much, he looks like an old man. I don't really buy that you can sort of disguise them without a glamour, or maybe just put a hood on his head or whatever. But I don't think this will happen. So the Arnulf one, so just to clarify, Arnulf is a Karstark. The rightful Lady Karstark is Alice, I believe. Is she the rightful Lady Karstark? No, her older brother is captive, right? Yes, I think her older brother is the rightful lord, but he's captive. And Alice is there. And Arnulf was Rickard Karstark's uncle. He's an old, stooped man. He wants to seize control of of Carhold, so he gets his sons to marry their cousin Alice Karstark. I think I'm getting that right. I'm not sure. Someone commented on one of my videos saying, "Oh, for a Song of Ice and Fire channel, you sure get some of the facts wrong." During my CK3 Game of Thrones video, I was like, "Yeah, that's because that video is me looking at the game and talking and having fun. There's not a prepared script. I'm just rambling. Sometimes I forget stuff." But here's the thing. So, let me rank this somewhere. So, is it dark? Yeah, that's a horrible end for Theon. Going through all that and he just gets burnt is horrible. I can see no, it doesn't fit. It doesn't work, but I can't see it's not the weirdest thing to happen. I wouldn't be like, no, that's impossible. So I will say, yeah, that's dark. I'll put it around here. Probably not going to happen, but you never know. But here's something that's slightly more likely, which is Theon is sacrificed to the old gods. So it's a similar concept, but instead of giving in to the fervent R'hllorists in his camp, Stannis will give Theon over to the Northmen to appease them, because he has northern clans in his army. The Liddles and the Norries and so on. The Walls. And the idea is that he will give him over and say, look, I don't need him, you can have him. And that to punish him for what he did to the Stark family, he will be sacrificed to the old gods, which basically means his throat will be slit in front of a weirwood, and the weirwood would soak up the blood. And this wouldn't necessarily be super dark. No, don't get me wrong, it would be very dark, but it wouldn't be like him being burnt or captured again and turned into reek once more. It would be, I feel like he would be at peace. It would be like a clean death by the Northmen. Theon could see it as a sort of, yes, I deserve this, I need this, I was raised in the North, I am a Northman ultimately, I am a Stark, and I did betray them, so this is my way of atoning for my sins. A quick, clean death. Sacrifice to the old gods. And then you have the link to Bran, so maybe this is an act that Bran will witness. through the weirwood tree, and he will see Theon's last moments and forgive him. Or maybe Theon being sacrificed, maybe that creates some kind of magical ritual where Theon's soul, almost, his mind, is transferred into the weirwood network, where he becomes part of... I don't know. There are many ways this could go. I quite like this one. I quite like it, but I don't think it's going to happen, because I think that Theon has more to do. I don't think the climax of his arc is saving Jeyne, and if the end of his arc is he takes Jeyne Poole to safety, and he becomes Theon again, and then the Northmen sacrifice him to the weirwoods and he dies sort of content. I don't think that's the worst ending ever, but I think it's too early. It's too early. He has more to give. In fact, Theon's arc's one of the few arcs in the show that wasn't butchered, in my opinion. I know, hot take, right? But yeah, it was, again, there was a period when he sort of didn't do anything, and there was lots of characters like mocking him, and it seemed like the narrative mocking him more than individual characters, because there wasn't ever any pushback or consequences to that in the narrative. But I think overall his arc was good in the show, sort of, you know. And I like how his his emergence from the state of being the tortured animal reek into being Theon again, it wasn't this smooth process. It wasn't this smooth redemption, the smooth rebuilding, you know, becoming harder and stronger. He sometimes wobbled and dipped and became reek for a little bit. I like that. I think the show handled that well. So Theon sacrificed the old gods. He has more to give. Don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's more likely than him being burnt. I put it into this quadrant. Is it dark? Yes, but I would put it slightly above Jeyne seeking the gift of mercy, because I don't think it's super dark. Let me check the chat. Cole says he can see Theon becoming a high priest of the drowned god, something spiritual. Theo equals God. That's no accident on Gurm's part. Interesting. Yeah, he could become a high priest, perhaps. I can't see him becoming king at the end, because one, a sort of, you know, a presumed eunuch becoming king isn't the most stable thing, and also I think Asha could die, but I think Asha becoming queen of the Iron Islands and harbouring in a new age for them feels like it fits more. I don't think Theon's arc is heading towards him becoming a king. A priest of the drowned god, maybe. Yeah. Secular. Carl also says he's a secular version of the dying/rising motif we see in supernatural characters. Yeah, suffered on the cross and is reborn. That's what George likes to do. He crafts these characters, he makes us love them, and then he throws them to the floor. And some of them shatter into a million pieces, and we have to deal with that. Some of them break a little bit, but then he glues them back together, puts them back on the table. That was a terrible analogy. But we have Jaime loses his hand, and he's reforged into a new person. Theon is broken, rebuilds himself. Jon literally dying, coming back to life. That is true. Wait, where did I see that? Someone asked, Frosty Foolbuster said, what kind of English are you? Maybe you're also a surprise Aussie like Alt-Shift-X. Alt-Shift-X is not a surprise Aussie. He is an obvious Aussie. I assume you're American, right? Americans, from my experience, aren't very good at distinguishing Australian accents from English accents. As an Englishman, obviously that is... Yeah, to answer your question, I'm English. That is baffling to me. Like, it's such obviously a different accent, but at the same time, I probably would be terrible at distinguishing American accents compared to an American, right? So Alt-Shift-X and Glidus. Some people think they're British. They're English. I am English. I'm specifically... Where I was raised was southern England. I have a sort of southern English accent, right? Like a sort of received pronunciation, sort of generic middle-class southern English accent. The boring one, basically. But the one that Americans like, sort of, for some reason. So, what comes next? More sacrifices or something new? Hopefully something new. Let's check my notes. Next up. Ooh, interesting. So, the idea here is that... are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? It is Stannis... not Stannis. Stannis will lose, good sir, the Battle of Ice. So basically things will go down as they do in the show. Stannis will lose the Battle of Ice, he will lose to the Boltons, the Night Lamp isn't happening or it fails, and that's the end of Stannis. Goodbye. No. This is ridiculous. Can you imagine? I hate the idea of him losing the Battle of Ice. Not because I'm a Stannis stan or that I'm a one true king enjoyer, but because it'd just be stupid, like narratively. He makes it that far and then loses to the Boltons and Freys. It's a waste of potential for his storyline. I just don't see it happening. It was stupid in the show, it would be stupid in the books. It's not happening, it's meh, and it's not happening. Can you imagine if Stannis just loses, like in the show? We're all waiting for like the Night Lamp and all this strategy and so on. Carl says Agamemnon from Greek myth loses despite sacrificing daughter. Yeah, Stannis has to inevitably lose something. I think he is not going to come out of this as a victor. I think he will lose. It is a tragic tale. His story is a tragic one. Losing the Battle of Ice, no, I don't see it. I think that's too early. But I think he will, his struggle for the Iron Throne will go down in flames. Much like his fake Lightbringer sword. What's next? This is a continuation. So this is, he loses the Battle of Ice, but there's an addition. He is captured by Ramsay and becomes Reek number 3. The first being Heek, the second being Theon. Stannis becomes Reek 3. Oh, sorry, I keep hitting the table. Stannis becomes Reek number 3. That's a horrible idea. Like, Ramsay captures this hard man, Stannis, and just tortures him until he becomes Reek, and he just becomes Ramsay's servant. I hate that. I hate that so much. He will bend before he breaks, which is the line that I royally and embarrassingly messed up and about an hour ago. But yeah, he will bend before he breaks, before he snaps, but he will bend and become a servant of No, fuck this. This isn't happening. This is not happening. It's over, my friends. Where should I put it? It's dark. It is dark. I'll put it here. I'll put it there. That's just, yeah. Someone said, I kind of hope that does happen. Why would you? Why would you hope that? Yeah. JPA said, it's not dark, it's just stupid. Yeah. It would be horrible to hear that Stannis goes through that, but it's just like, dude, we don't need that again. We've had that. We don't need Reek 3. But we don't need to worry, because Stannis is going to win. And then what happens when he wins? He's going to kill Wyman Manderly. So the idea here is that Wyman is helping Stannis. He may betray the Freys at the upcoming Battle of Ice, but Stannis will kill Wyman because he believes Wyman killed Davos. Stannis thinks Davos is dead, by the way. Right? Currently, most people believe Davos is dead because Wyman staged Davos's death, killed a common criminal in his place to send him off to Scargos for the crazy cannibal. The planes are coming out today. Damn. This is what happens when you live in Guantanamo Bay. Coming in and out. That's where I live. Wyman is killed by Stannis. Classic sort of darkly ironic death, where Wyman comes all that way But Stannis says, okay, but you murdered unjustly my friend, my hand, Lord Davos Seaworth, so I'm going to kill you. But that would also sort of rely on Stannis. That would rely on Wyman not just saying, yeah, nah fam, it's good. Like, he's alive. Like, would Stannis, like, draw his sword and immediately kill him? I feel like Stannis wouldn't do that. He would, like, question him. Like, I don't think he'd charge in and angrily be like, you killed Davos, and then whatever. Yeah. I get it. I get the idea behind it, but it would be a disappointing end for Wyman. I think what's more likely is that Wyman and some of the Northern Lords will end up betraying Stannis. That they will rally behind either Rickon or Jon as king, because they don't want Stannis as king. And they're kind of using him to defeat the Boltons, but they're going to betray him. Which will be the next theory, actually. But for this one, is it going to happen? I don't think so. It's kind of meh. It's like here. So this one is the Northern Lords will betray Stannis, or Stannis, as George says. Stannis Baratheon. The Northern Lords will betray him. How and why? Well, because they, like I said, they want Rickon or Jon. Who knows? They don't want Stannis. So the Northern conspiracy, the Northern Lords will betray him. And that could lead into what I was saying before about Stannis' arc becoming tragic, and he loses all support, and maybe he just fully turns to trying to deal with the White Walkers up north. That's what he dedicates his duty towards. Or maybe he does try to fight back, or I don't know. Carl is saying, what will Wyman actually do? We know he's all riled up, but what actions will he take to help, and will they at all? Well, I think the idea is that he's already instructed his men to betray the Freys. So in the Battle of Ice, they will be behind the Freys, who are leading the vanguard, I believe, and then they will sort of attack them from behind. So it's sort of something that's already planned. Yes. Oh, you literally said that in the next comment. He's not leading the charge, so I guess the idea would be he's delegated responsibility to commanders. Like, listen, we are going to betray them, and then when the attack happens, they know what they're doing. Yeah. So the Northern Lords betraying Stannis, I can see this. I don't want them to, because I like them all working together, but it is dark. It's not super dark, but it does. I think it is quite likely. I'll put it here. And it'll be another tragic blow for Stannis' character, and will push him down an even darker path, which could lead to something like the sacrifice of Shireen being more believable. A more believable conclusion, climax to his arc, The old stab him in the back maneuver. Yes. Basic strategy. Allies in front, not really. Stab them, they die. Boom. Yeah, I don't know how it would work in practice, but I don't think they're little conspiracies. Oh, Callum's saying, I think what you mean is you think they're little conspiracies, but not a single unified conspiracy. I agree with that, actually. I think lots of Northern Lords and ladies have plans up their sleeves. I don't think they're all collectively working together. I like that. I'm okay with smaller conspiracies together. I just don't like there being these huge grand ones that control everything, because that's not as interesting. Next up, we have... okay. Let's move over to Skargos. Skargos being the island of the Skargosi, the Stoneborn. See, Stoneborn is a word I want to hear Jorah from the show saying. We must go to the Skargosi, the Stoneborn, Khaleesi. Anyway. Yeah, so this idea is Rickon's story. Whoop. So, yeah. Basically, Rickon's story is a literal Shaggy Dog story. Shaggy Dog's tale. Why did I write that? A literal Shaggy Dog story. So a Shaggy Dog story is a long-winded story that doesn't go anywhere. Shaggy Dog is the name of Rickon's direwolf. The idea is that his entire story will be one big shaggy dog story. It will be pointless. It will be lots of build up to an anticlimactic end, a whimper. So the idea there is that Davos will go to Skargos, and it's just Rickon presumably dead, eaten by cannibals. It's a shaggy dog story. Davos went there for no reason. They're hoping Rickon was irrelevant, and that could lead towards resurrected Jon Snow becoming future King of the North, because he is Robb Stark's heir in his will, supposedly. I absolutely hate this story, this theory. I despise this theory. This is such a common thing that's casually said by fans. Or, oh, of course, Rickon's story might end with with an anticlimax because it's a shaggy dog story. Get it? Because his wolf. It's like, I'm sorry, no. Rickon's direwolf being called shaggy dog, and that being the same term for a type of story with an anticlimax, does not in any way justify his story ending with an... It's basically saying, oh yeah, well, it's going to be a stupid, pointless, disappointing anticlimax that shouldn't exist at all, and there's no reason for it, and it's a waste of time, but it's foreshadowed because of his dog's name. No, that's absurd. That would be such a waste of time. Right? Justifying a boring, unnecessary waste of time and a bad conclusion by saying that, well, it's based on something that his dog is named after. No, presumably the dog's called Shaggy Dog because Rickon's 3 years old, and that's a sort of name a 3-year-old would give a wolf, Shaggy Dog. And also bear in mind, the books have evolved and developed in so many ways. It was going to be a trilogy, then it was going to be 5 books, now it's going to be 7 books, it could be even longer. Maybe he had different plans for Rickon. Maybe he had an idea of it being a Shaggy Dog story. Maybe Rickon was going to play a greater role, but then as the books got bigger, he realised Rickon's irrelevant, so he won't play as big a role. But it's not good. I will genuinely be annoyed. This is my only rant today. I would genuinely be annoyed if Davos goes to Skargos and Rickon's story just ends in an anticlimax, in a Shaggy Dog story. Because people talk about this like it's an acceptable theory. That's right, I'm getting my pretentious hat on. People talk about this casually like, well, yeah, I mean, Rickon's story might just be a Shaggy Dog story, so who knows? That's okay. It's that George would set this up and it leads to nothing and it's pointless just because of his dog's name. This is going in the dustbin, my friends. This is not going to happen. And it's... Okay, is it dark? It's dark in the sense of it being a Shaggy Dog story would require the Skargosi eating him or something where he's just not relevant. So, boom. Now, I put it up with the children dying. So what I'm okay with is Rickon's story ending in a way where... ending in a way that the reader doesn't expect and the characters don't expect. So Wyman has this idea of bringing Rickon over and he can become, the new Lord Stark, maybe even King Stark. But then something happens to Rickon and he does die, and then Jon becomes the new Lord of Winterfell / new king, whatever. But I don't want it to be an anticlimax. I don't want it to be oh, okay, that was pointless, because then it would feel like George added a new Stark for no reason, doesn't know what to do with him, just cuts him loose. And again, it could be a time skip thing. Maybe he would have a bigger role post time skip, but who knows? I joined the stream and I see this graphic. Already know we're in for a treat. In Microsoft Paint, baby. We're professional in here. We're professional. We are high tier. We are Alt-Shift-X. We're Glidus on steroids. We got Microsoft Paint because I don't have Photoshop. Now, maybe Rickon is alive. He could be alive. But he is the wild wolf. And either he kills Davos or he lets Davos be killed by the Skargosi. So, Davos is eaten by cannibals. / Shaggy. So, yeah, the idea, it's what it says on the tin, this one. Davos will go to Skargos and will be eaten. And I guess that will be the Shaggy Dog story. It'll be his. So, hold on, let me have a drink. Dad, talking to yourself for 2 hours really does a number on your throat. Okay, so what's the point in sparing Davos and telling us in Feast that he's dead off screen, only to reveal he's alive in Dance, which is such a bastard move by George, and then sending him off and then he gets eaten? What's the point? What's the point? See, so many theories don't seem to care about narrative or themes or character arcs or anything like that. It's taking bits and pieces and then wringing out the most ridiculous bullshit from them like a wet flannel, without any like these things are happening. So yeah, he's going to an island with cannibals, they eat people, maybe he's going to get eaten. But then you have to be, is that a satisfying end for him? Is it necessary? Where does the plot go after that? What's the point? You know? That's the problem with Song of Ice and Fire theorists. Apart from the ones who are having fun, like Preston Jacobs, who like to shitpost so on, and come up with crazy theories just to like, as a fun like brain teaser almost. But the ones who take it so seriously, like, you know, Littlefinger is a disciple of the old gods. It's like, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't work for his story. Like, his story is a very low fantasy, intrigue based tale. It's not about prophecy and gods, so it doesn't need to be. You don't need that extra element. Or like, you know, Ashara Dane being Jon Snow's mother. What does that add compared to Rhaegar being his father? What does that add to the plot? How does it change his character? Oh, his mother is actually one of the possible contestants for being his mother that was raised by other characters. It's one of the people who we've already said it could be. Ta-da, you know? So, you know, this one is dark, but it's pointlessly dark. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't mean anything. It's a waste. It's a waste. So, it is dark. But my boy Davos, we love him. But it's not happening. I'm going to put it here. But if you disagree with me, feel free to insult me back. Go for it. I'm still waiting on that $100 hate comment, hate super chat, being like, Haven, you're gay. Owning me, Epic Cell. And, oh, damn. Okay, that is the last of the Northern theories. So, what I want now is some questions. That'd be cool. I'm going to use this as a Q&A part. We've discussed some fun theories about the wall and north of the wall. Send me some questions. Fire away. I'll try and read as many as possible. Don't ignore my chat. Let me know. Let me know. While I'm waiting for questions to come in, I'm going to look at some of the comments. Someone said John wrote the pink letter. Fantastic Goat said John wrote the pink letter. He wrote it to himself. He like forged it and then opened it and then did a big performance pretending to be mad just as an excuse to attack Winterfell. That's quite funny. Lord too fat to sit a horse will be devoured by Stannis' hungry men. By Ali. Well, they successfully take Winterfell and they're so starving from the campaign that they just eat Wyman. I've never heard Shaggy Dog Story as a saying before. Is this a British thing? No, it's not. It's a literary saying, phrase, a Shaggy Dog Story. I don't know whether its origins is in England, but I don't think it's a specific country thing. See, it's funny, I'm reading back the comments and there's a load of stuff like, I hate this theory so much. I can't remember which one they're talking about. Most of these were dumb. These were a lot dumber than I realised. These weren't like a mixture of cool ones and bad ones. These are like mostly edgy for the sake of being edgy. And that's what... The books aren't that. The books aren't grimdark. They're not nihilistic. They're not edgy for the sake of being edgy. They're brutal and nasty and subversive, but they're also they're romantic and they have elements of optimism and so on. My favourite idea is that Rickon will become more feral and more like the Skagosi. Yeah, I think this is foreshadowed. And I don't know, throw out the word foreshadow too much because so many theorists think that everything is a foreshadow. My neighbour is shouting very loudly, I apologise. Like that everything that ever happens is a foreshadow as opposed to just being slightly similar. But I do think it's deliberately foreshadowed that that Shaggy Dog is the wildest and most feral of the direwolves, and that Rickon will take after him. And again, time skip, maybe we have a more sort of, we have like a 10-year-old angry feral cannibal Rickon, but yeah, I think he will be kind of a nutcase. But I'm so curious as to where his story will end, because between you and me, I don't think it's going to end with an Umber sending him off to Ramsay and then Ramsay firing arrows at him, leading to Jon charging ahead and leaving his strategic position. Rickon as a cannibal is way more fun if still dumb. I can see him being a cannibal, actually. John Potts. I'm still hoping Jon's mother is random camp follower number 3. Not going to happen, though. I get what you mean. The idea of, Jon's mother being no one. Star Wars played with that, right? In the sequel trilogy, where J.J. Abrams played up that Rey has important parentage, and then in The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson subverted that and said, oh no, actually, your parents were nobody. They were nobodies, they were random people who sold you off. But the idea behind that was, it doesn't matter who your parents are. You don't have to be descended from a great bloodline or a great person to be great. But then, which is a part of The Last Jedi I don't dislike. I actually like that. That's one of the parts I like. But then J.J. Abrams came back and ruined it by making her making her Palpatine's granddaughter. Well, someone was banging that wrinkly old emperor. I mean, look at the timeline. How does that work? Anyway, so I know what you mean in terms of, wouldn't it be cool if Jon's mother was just a nobody? That it wasn't a great lady like a Shara Dane. It wasn't, that his father was not Rhaegar. It was just a Northern Lord slept with a commoner and had a bastard child. But I do think, yeah, well, we all know that his father has to be Rhaegar. It would be very strange if the show went a different direction. But I think Geordie's going to do something interesting with R plus L equals J. Because there's lots of fantasy that deals with, all the way back to Lord of the Rings, it deals with secret kings, right? Aragorn, secret king. And then, Memory, Sorrow and Thorn. I'm currently reading the first book. It's very clear. I won't spoil it, but it's very clear, in my opinion, that one of the characters is probably the unknown son of someone important. And in the Farseer trilogy, I haven't read that either, but apparently that also deals with like a king's bastard or a prince's bastard. So this is a trope in fantasy that's existed. And I think it's there for a reason, but it's not because he's just going to do it for the sake of it. Like, oh, he's a secret prince, because fantasy stories do that. It's going to be something more interesting than that. It's going to go beyond that. It's going to be, yeah, okay, he is a Targaryen, and that can affect the plot in major ways. That could affect his character and his sense of identity. But ultimately, the message, I think, will be that Jon is a great man and a good man, and he's done all these important things to help save civilization, and it's nothing to do with the fact that he is the son of Rhaegar. He becomes Lord Commander of the Night's Watch as a teenager through merit, not through bloodline, through merit. Yeah, he has the advantage of being a bastard raised in a castle and so on, but he learns lessons and he improves and he has actual character development, and through merit he is voted in as Lord Commander. And so I think his ending in the show was dumb, but I get the idea of him going beyond the wall and being the new king of the wildlings. So he will not become king of Westeros because he happens to be the son of someone who happened to be the son of someone whose ancestors, someone who is the king and whose ancestors were kings. Because like it doesn't matter. Bloodlines don't matter. The book's ending with Jon sitting the Iron Throne, because with the message being it does matter who you're related to take power, is completely no. That's not his style. That's not George's style. It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. It would be very disappointing, wouldn't it? The message being, who's a great ruler? Who should be in charge? The person who's descended from the right person. So I think Jon will reject ruling Westeros in order to be based on birthright and bloodlines, in order to be king beyond the wall, because he was chosen by the Boldling, chosen by, something along those lines. I'm not portraying it in the best way. I'm not being very eloquent today. Like I said, I'm tired. But yeah, I think that's going to end. Yeah. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, wasn't it? Do you think Euron was once a student of the three-eyed raven, but was rejected for being evil? Yes, I love that theory, because he talks about dreaming about like the leap of faith, jumping from the tower. If he is like a green seer and a warg, and he's sort of a corrupted student, a student gone bad, that would be really cool. Someone asked if I could wait 3 minutes because they want to go to the loo. Very sorry, I didn't see that in time. I would have waited 3 whole minutes of dead silence. Can Bran walk into one of Dany's dragons if she were to use them in a battle? I mean, that's sort of what we were hoping would happen in Season 8 during the Long Night. That Bran would walk into one of the dragons. He just didn't do anything. He literally did nothing with his power. I know that this is overdone. I don't need to rag on the show. But he literally sat there. The only thing he did was look in the past every now and then, including seeing things that he shouldn't have been able to see because there wasn't a weirwood present, and then walking into ravens to do some scouting, and like that's it. WAP, Wyman's appetizing pies. Okay, that's stuck in my head now. Bring a bucket and a mop. Okay. Everything in blah blah blah. Somehow Jon Snow has returned. That will be the first. That will be the prologue of wins. The prologue will be like 1 page, and it'll just be like, somehow Jon has returned! Exclamation mark. Jon Snow. Ooh, the unknown. Jon Snow is a son of Lyanna and Arthur Dayne instead of Rhaegar. Interesting, but I don't see why. Okay, no, let me humour that. So I guess the idea is Lyanna was kidnapped by Rhaegar and put in a tower, but Arthur Dayne was in love with her. Or maybe it was Arthur Dayne who kidnapped her, / ran away with her. They slept together, he got her pregnant, he was guarding her with his mates, maybe not on Rhaegar's orders, but because he was just defending his love and their children. And then Jon, where it came back, then Ned killed him, came back to Ashara, was like, hey, this is your, this child is your nephew. And then Ashara killed her. So I don't, maybe, but like I don't see the point. I don't know what that would add. Again, the whole parent mystery, I feel like it has to add something to the plot and the character. It would just be, oh, Ned's not your father's Arthur Dayne, who's a cool swordsman, and your mum's Lyanna, who's cool. It's like, okay, cool. House Dayne is super interesting, you're right, Callum. And I am making a House Dayne video for Patreon for my launch, and in doing so, I found out loads about the house. Like I was always like, okay, it's a cool house, but we don't know much about it, and I kind of felt it was a bit overrated that everyone always went on about it. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool color scheme, cool sigil. Is it really a big deal? But diving into it for my research, I was like, oh no, they are cool. Oh, they're cool. And George has drawn up a family tree that he hasn't shared publicly yet, which makes you go, okay, what secrets, what mysteries is he hiding? So that is very exciting. Any other questions? Let's all collectively hate Season 8 for 10 minutes. No, we must become Zen. We must become better. We must improve ourselves. Turn our hatred into love. Love for Hot D. And love for the books. The long night. I love when people call the long night the one night stand. Okay, Izana says, I'm late to the stream, but where... Blah, blah. Wait, what does that say? I'm late to the stream, but... Oh, where would you put young Griff being Blackfire on the scale? See, this... Young Griff being Blackfire, this is dark theory. It's not really a dark theory. In terms of... how likely it is... I would say it's very likely. Again, maybe it won't be revealed. I think it's more likely he is a Blackfire than a Targ. I think it's more likely he's a Blackfire than a random peasant pisswater prince. I really do buy the Blackfire thing. Will it be revealed? Maybe not. I'm inclined to think it will be, actually. Some people think it won't. I think it will be. It's not a dark theory. It's just a kind of, oh damn, he's a Blackfire. But we have done the dark theories for the Wall and North, and the third most votes in the poll was for the South. So in my next live stream, I will be exploring the south of Westeros and all the theories there. So Riverlands, Stormlands, King's Landing, Iron Isles, so on and so on. Because there's loads of fun stuff. In fact, I can, you know what? Because you're beautiful people, I can give you a quick teaser. I'll read it out loud. I'll read out the Riverland theories. I won't rank them, I'll just read them out. So you can get a teaser for next week. Because I want to do a weekly... Excuse me, my throat's very dry. I want to do weekly live streams. I want this to be a proper thing where I could chat with you and so on. And, yeah. So here's the teaser for next week, which will either be just dark theories in the south of Westeros or dark theories in the south and Essos. So they are, for the Riverlands, here's a teaser. Red Wedding 2 will happen, but lots of innocents will die. The Hound, Sandor Clegane, will never be mentioned again and the hype will die. Brienne will become the next Hound, Hound 4.0. Jaime, captured by the Brotherhood, will be forced to fight Brienne, who will kill him. Sir Ilan Payne, who's in the Riverlands, will unknowingly kill his cousin Podrick. And perhaps the darkest theory of all, even darker than the Mira, Hodor, Bran one from the start of this stream. Brace yourself, this is horrible. The late Walder Frey will abdicate and pass leadership of the twins to his heir to spend more time with his grandchildren, and then he will peacefully die. Which is the darkest of all of them. That will shatter the scale, without question. But I want to say thank you so much, you beautiful people, for watching the live stream, and thank you for 10k subs. Genuinely, like, what was it? I was on 19 subscribers in January, 19, and I posted my best episode of Hot D video, which isn't my best video. The audio's a bit dodgy, and you know, it was a work in progress, right? The channel was. And then a few months later, I kind of willed it into being, you know what I'm saying? Right? A few months later, 10k subs, and I now have 2 videos with 100k views, and that's crazy to me, because this stuff can take months and months or even years, and I literally couldn't have done it without you, so I'm forever going to be grateful for you guys, and I'm always going to prioritize you guys. So it's very exciting. I mean, I'm on 11k now, damn, and I'm nearly on my 3rd video that's going to hit 6-figure views. Which one is it? It's going to be the Frey one. History House Frey is on 99k views. Ooh, nearly there. We're getting big. I have a milestone for each month, so I'm thinking my milestone for this month, this month it's Patreon, release Patreon this month. Next month, I'm not sure. Last month was 10k subs, we achieved that. This month, Patreon, next month, something realistic. I don't want to go overboard, but I want to be positive. want to be optimistic. I'm thinking 100k subs by the end of the year, though. By December, 100k subs. Let's get there. Right, let's get a big community going before Hot D Season 2. And then boom. Because I want to produce, I'm self-employed, this is my job, I want to keep producing content. I want to do it weekly. I mostly do it weekly, sometimes I take some time off. But speaking of, next week, hopefully, there is going to be another Crusader Kings video, a CK3 Game of Thrones video. Check out my first one if you haven't seen it. I get the mod too, it's awesome. And I promised in my first video, my first CK3 video, that I was going to explore all the houses in that mod, every single one. So in Dawn, the Stormlands, the North, the Westerlands, so on, every Lord Paramount, Lord Bannerman, Minor Lords, Barons, all that stuff, and I'm going to explain the origins of the houses, so whether they're from the books, the show, extended media, like, the RPGs and so on. So that's what I'm going to do next week. I might do Dawn. I think Dawn and working my way up could be fun. And I've got myself some new RAM, so my computer will be running faster, and hopefully that can be made sooner. And I sort of want to jump between that. I want to do 1 week CK3 Game of Thrones, the next week animated lore, then keep doing that cycle. I have loads, I'm never going to run out of content. I've got loads of history videos planned, like History of House Martell, Stark, Baratheon, all the big ones, but also the Bannermen, like History of House Bolton. But I also want to do the minor ones, which would be too short for individual videos, but maybe I could put them together, like the minor Crownland houses, or the minor Dawn houses, or the Dawn Bannerman houses, or whatever. That would be lots of fun. I want to keep, because that seems like the content people like the most. The CK3 stuff, and more importantly, the animated lore. I need some more house histories, and some more collabs. There will be collabs coming in the future, by the way. Some smaller Song of Ice and Fire YouTubers who need more love. We're going to be working together. Yep, Cole says collabs are a great way to get more /new subs. Reach up, reach down, and all around. And yeah, that's I reached out to Quinn, the GM. Not Quinn's ideas. Quinn, the GM, when I had, how much? 3,000 subs? He had like 9,000. And I wasn't expecting him to respond. And he did. And, he was like, yeah, let's do it. And he gave me a huge boost. And, I also helped boost him because my Frey video has double the amount that his Frey video has. And so we both helped each other. But that was a huge boost for me. And I'm in touch with a couple of Song of Ice and Fire YouTubers. I won't say who. They're both smaller than me, but we're going to collab because it's like, you can't just... You gotta, if you're going up, you're rising up, you gotta pull up people with you. You gotta help them out. You can't just, ignore the smaller ones. You gotta keep spreading. Build the community, make friendships. And eventually, maybe I'll be collabing with the big YouTubers that you know and love. Like, who knows? Glidus, David Lightbringer, all the big ones, all the fun ones, All Shift X, he doesn't really do, he doesn't really collab that much. He mostly sticks to himself and Glidus, which is fair enough. Fair play. Work with Shift X and Glidus on something. I would... Yeah, again, they're big YouTubers. They're busy. Shift X kind of keeps to himself. I would love to. I do have a really fun idea involving getting loads of... Not loads, but a nice batch of a Song of Ice and Fire YouTubers together. And... doing so I don't want to reveal it again. It could be like a year away or 2 years away, but I have an idea for something really fun, some kind of game we could all play together without giving too much away, but that would require me to get bigger and to reach out to more people and so on. But yeah, and so to wrap up, that's what my content's going to be. I'm going to focus heavily on the animated lore, and not just sort of this event explained, these houses explained, but also more in-depth stuff like the Curse of Harrenhal, going through everyone who's ever ruled Harrenhal and what their fate is. Every Frey explained is a big one that I'm working on in the background. Oh boy, over 100, that's going to be a long one. That'll be fun though. What else? Even stuff like explaining certain bands like the Mountain's Men, the Brotherhood Without Banners, the Bloody Mummers, exploring these kind of groups of people I always find that fun. I have a load of different ideas. And I can move beyond A Song of Ice and Fire. I want to like delve into Witcher and other stuff and see if you guys like that. If you don't, I'll change strategy. But that's what it's about. It's yes, In Deep Geek is a fellow Brit. He is. I In Deep Geek. I love Robert. I'd love to collab with him. He's huge. What's he got? 500k subs or something like that. 300k, 400k, 500k. I'd love to. I'm very small. I just have to keep climbing. And then you guys who saw me, because 10k is not much. That's early. You guys who are supporting me and helping out with 10, 11k subs. Who knows, in a few months or a year, we could be high, right? We could be big. We could be. That's just so much fun. I love the idea of collabing and just being a bigger part of the community. That's so awesome. But yeah. And like I said, this month I'm working on Patreon. So I will just quickly let you know that Patreon will be something nice and cheeky. It's basically, you get cheeky updates, you get polls to vote on what you want the next video to be. You get a fun behind the scenes video where you find out how I create characters and how I edit my video and audio and all that. There'll be an extended version of the Hightower video. And there will be an exclusive video about House Dane, and also, potentially, I'm workshopping some things, but potentially the highest tiers can ask me to create a character for them. So that you might be like, design me as a character, or design my favourite character, or design this random thing, and I will have that as a cameo in some videos in the background. And of course shouting people out and so on. But what I want to do is actually like provide some decent content, because I'm not going to name any names, obviously, and I'm not going to be snarky, but there are some people who have Patreon out there, and what they do is, it's like, pay me a bunch of money and I will say your name at the end of the video, and that's it. They don't provide any content. And for me, it's like, I get it. Patreon is a way of people supporting you and saying thank you, but as a content creator, I have to give back. I'm not just going to put your name in the description and read it out and then say, job well done, thank you for your money. It's like, no, my thank you is going to be a thank you. It's going to be, have a behind the scenes video, have an exclusive video, have an extended video, vote in polls, have access to an exclusive live stream, join the Fantasy Haven Patreon Discord, message me personally, let's have a chat, I'll draw a character for you, that stuff, because I this is new to me. I'm looking into what's good for Patreon, because again, I want this to be my job. I need another monitor, another microphone. I want to increase the quality of my content, but everything I'm earning is going towards rent and bills, and I want to actually have this as a proper stable job, Carl Snark doesn't like that I wasn't being snarky. I don't blame him. But yeah, that's what I want. I want to give back. And like I said, I've done research into other Patreons to see what kind of stuff you need, and a lot of it is really bare minimum, and it's like no, man, if I'm going to say thank you, I'm going to say thank you. I'm not just going to read your name at the end of a video. Like, I'm going to provide you with some content. I also need to look into stuff like merch, because I brought this up with Quinn, where I was like, okay, here's the thing with merch. Yeah, I draw fun characters, but if I sell A Song of Ice and Fire characters, I could get sued. George is going to sue me. He's going to come to my house with a metal baseball bat, smash my head in, genuinely. Like, I'm not like, yeah, I can't sell A Song of Ice. I could draw like random characters, like here's a knight, here's a king, here's a maiden, here's a whatever, in my style with the big eyes and the chessboard piece body kind of thing. But it would have to be stock characters. It can't be any A Song of Ice and Fire characters, because I get sued. And here's the thing, I don't have any epic, wacky phrases, do I? I don't have any famous quotes that I can put on a t-shirt. Apart from Darkling Schemes, how about I put on the Darkling Schemes shirt or mug with Iron Rod's face? Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. You know what? There were 70 people here when I started rambling about Patreon, and there's now 69. So, like, all but one of you stayed and listened to me, just, like, rambling. Hell yeah, you're awesome. Oh, Carl is a mod for Robert. Yes, I remember, because you asked permission to promote me in his live chat, and I said yes. I'll let him know you're interested. Yeah, that's very nice of you. Again, I would reach out to him myself, but it's just like 10k subs. It's ballsy to reach out to someone with loads of subs and be like, hey, collab with me. You know, I'm tough shit. It's like, you know, I got to build my way up. But if you're happy to do that, that's awesome. I love his content. I don't know if he likes mine. I hope he does. That'll be fun. But yeah, thank you for the friendly offer. Callum says, I'm too poor for Patreon, but I wish you much success. That's the thing. You don't need to give me Patreon money. That Patreon money is for people who can afford it. It's a thank you. It's people saying, have some money, you know, thank you for your content. I hope this helps you, like, have this as a stable job. But I don't need it. What I need from you guys is enjoy the videos. That's the most important thing. Enjoying the videos, liking them, commenting, sharing, subscribing, telling people about it, letting other people find it. Because we've made so much progress in such a small time, and it's all down to you guys. Fantasy the Rambler. I'm such a rambler. I'm telling you now. I've got... Man's got ADHD, right? I ramble. I lose track of time. I sympathise with David Lightbringer. He's got a bigger audience than me. So I don't know how he does it. He's also got ADHD, and he has like 2,000 people watching per live stream, so... I don't know how he deals with all of the chaos in the chat and keeping afloat of stuff. Anyway, let's wrap up. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week with a CK3 video. I'll do weekly live streams. There'll be a Patreon. There'll be animated history and lore and all that stuff. And more collabs with smaller channels, hopefully some bigger channels. Some more Quinn collabs. Because the only way I can get more subs than Quinn is to collab with Quinn. And then the moment I've overtaken him, I can throw him to the dirt. Because I'm better than him. I hope he's listening. Come by the LML stream later. You can edit it together. Yes, hopefully I will. It might be quite late though, in the UK when it comes out. And I'm very tired. Because I stayed up last night watching Eurovision, which turned out to be quite terrible. Before I leave, I will answer one final question, because someone called Lego World Studios has sent me a message, and I can't deny the Lego company itself. Anyway, do you think the Manderlys may be killed in a friendly fire incident during the Battle of Ice? Yes. I hope not, but to assume that it's going to be a really successful, satisfying Stannis victory, and that there won't be something going wrong, like the Manderlys also fall into the ice trap, yeah, that could easily happen. Fantasy's planning to Littlefinger Quinn. I will overtake him. What's he on? He's on 13k subs, right? I've got 11k. We're nearly there. We'll defeat that Quinn's ideas wannabe. No, I love Quinn. He's awesome. Okay, thank you so much for watching. All my live streams end the same way. I say I'm going to finish, and literally 30 minutes pass, and the viewer count slowly goes down as I continue to ramble about nothing. Thank you so much. I love you so much. Like and subscribe. Fantasy Haven, your home for all things fantasy. That's my phrase. I apparently you need a little motto. Does that work? Who cares? Bye.